Hello guys, and welcome to another video. Today we're going to be learning how to make this amazing carousel slider, or whatever you want to call it, using only CSS, HTML, and a couple of lines of JavaScript. Basically all of this is just CSS transitions, and I thought it was really interesting and show you how to make this. um, of course the original idea is not mine. I saw this on Dribble, got inspired. I'm gonna be leaving the link of the original animation in the description. Okay, so now with that in mind, let's see how we can implement this. Okay guys, so we're gonna start writing our code. So I always like to start with a main wrapper for our entire content. So I'm just gonna add a main wrapper, and we're gonna start with the sidebar. So this is just um, a simple div that it is going to wrap our sidebar. And in our sidebar, we're gonna add a sidebar thing, and we're gonna start with our title. So we're gonna add an h2 sidebar title, and we are gonna name it new arrivals. Cool. Now let's start our menu. This is a simple UL tag. I'm gonna use sidebar navigation menu, and here we're gonna use just LIs for this. So LI, and we're gonna name the class sidebar item. Cool. Okay, so we're just gonna copy and paste this couple of times so we can add our menus. Cool. Now that we have this, let's see how it looks in the browser. So we refresh and we have here our menus. So basically for this tutorial, I'm gonna just go ahead and start adding the CSS for the project. So yeah, let's get started with that. Okay, cool. So now we have here an empty index. We're gonna start with our main wrapper. Here I'm gonna display this to a flex, and the direction is gonna be a row. We're gonna remove the wrap, so no wrap, and the width is gonna be the width of the screen. We save it. Okay, now back in the code for the sidebar, I want the sidebar. In this case, let's just refresh. Okay, for the sidebar, I want the sidebar to be here, like on the left. So let's do that. Okay, cool. Now let's take the sidebar, and the width we're gonna use at 20% of the screen, and the height is gonna be the height of the screen. And for the Z index, we're gonna add a 10. Cool. Now for our sidebar content, okay, we are gonna add a padding top of 200 pixels, width of 50%. This 50% is 50% of this 20% of the sidebar, right? And we are going to center this content. Basically all of the title and the menus are gonna be centered. Okay, now in our browser, if we refresh, we can see here our menu, and it is at 20%. It doesn't seem like it, but in a bit we're gonna notice here the separation. Okay, cool. Okay, we're gonna write some styles for the title. Have these values already. The text decoration is gonna be underline. The text transform, we want this to be uppercase, and our margin button 22 pixels, so that way it separates this title with this menu. Cool. And now I don't have anything specific for this one for now, but for our items we are gonna type font size of 16 pixels and a font weight of 600. Same for our text transform. Here we're gonna use uppercase for all of our menus. The color is a light gray color, and the margin button, in this case, is the space between each element. It is going to be 22. Okay, now in the browser, if we refresh, we can see these elements here. It still doesn't look good. We need to remove this like this style for the lists. So yeah, let's fix that. Okay, now for this I want to add some properties for all the UL in the code. So we're gonna remove the list style to be none. Okay, we're gonna remove paddings and margins for this. We save it. Okay, cool. And I have a couple of things here that I also want to fix before continuing with the code. And in this case, for our body in HTML, I want to add remove paddings and margins, and also want to add a font family for the entire project. So I'm just going to use Arial. Okay, cool. Also for our divs, we're going to use box sizing. It is always a good idea to have this border box. And for H1, H2, and H3, we're going to remove the margin. So, okay, margin, we're going to move it, we save it. Now in the browser, we refresh, it looks something like this. Cool. Perfect. Now let's continue. Okay, now here inside the main wrapper, inside the main wrapper, we're gonna add a couple of things. Here we're gonna add we're gonna add the image container, and here basically we're not gonna write anything inside this. You're just gonna work as a holder, and same for our text container. Now, couple of styles that we can add here. Okay, so for our image container, I'm gonna add a background color so we can notice here difference of gray, and a height of the entire screen, the width of 40%. So now With this, we have filled at 60% of the screen, taking into account that we have the sidebar to be at 20%. So for our text container, we want the same values here. Okay. Now in the browser, let's refresh. As you guys can see, this is our sidebar, image container, and the text container here. Okay, pretty cool. Okay, so now here, let's just add some space. Okay, so basically we're gonna write our carousel here. So I'm gonna add here an ID also of carousel, because we are gonna use JavaScript later, so we get the reference. Okay, so basically for each page we are gonna have a div that wraps the entire content. So this seems, I think, pretty obvious, but we're gonna name this carousel page, and each page is gonna be wrapped inside a new carousel page, if that makes sense at all. Okay, so now we're gonna start with our images. There are two images, so we're gonna need the background and also like the person, in this case, that, or the model that has the clothes and everything. So we're gonna wrap all the images inside a class. So image container, and here for the background we're gonna add a div. Yeah, and we are just going to import our image, and these images are inside our assets, and we have a background. Okay, cool. And then for the model, in this case, we are going to name just this carousel image, and let me see, inside our images we have our carousel image. Okay, let's see how this looks in the browser. Okay, let's refresh. Okay guys, as you can see here we have the image, like the background, the model. So now let's fix like the size of this. Alright. Okay, now that we are back in the code, we can work a little bit here. Okay, now let's start with the carousel. On this to have a absolute position, height of the entire screen, width of 100%, and we're gonna add a pattern length of 20%, so that way it doesn't get on top of the sidebar. So we add a pattern length of 20%. Okay, top 0, 0 in all of the sides. Okay, cool. And we want to hide the overflow on the x-axis. Okay, so overflow x, hiding. Okay, cool. So now we have the carousel page. Okay, so our carousel page is going to have also an absolute position. Here we're gonna display this into a flex. The flex direction is gonna be row, wrap, no wrap, height 100%, and the z index 100%. Okay, I won't look too much different from before because we only are like fixing the position of this. But now let's work on the images so we can see some difference here. So we have our image container. Cool. We're gonna add a relative position. 100%, no percent, the viewport height and width. Okay. Now for our background image wrapper, okay, so now for the images container here, we're gonna use a width of 100%. No, of 100%, 50%. I'm gonna use a height of 100%, and the position of this one is going to be relative. And the reason we use 50% for the width is because the other 50% is gonna be occupied by the text. So we use the half of this carousel page. Okay, cool. Okay, now that we have the image container, let's add some styles for the background image wrapper. Okay, so we want to be width and a height of 100%, and we're gonna use overflow hidden, and we're gonna use this later for the animations. It's going to work, you will see later why. Okay, now the carousel background image, we use width and height of 100%. Here we are gonna set the object fit to be cover so the image doesn't stretch. And yeah, okay, as you can see, we have our background here working. Now we need to fix this carousel image. Okay, cool. Okay, now we have this carousel background image. Let's work on the carousel image. Okay, so for this we need to be in absolute position. The way that I'm gonna calculate the height, this is a value that I already have, is using total height minus 106 pixels because I don't want to be like full height, so I'm just gonna remove 100 pixels from the height of the screen. We want to be aligned on the bottom, and we're gonna center this, so 50%, and translate on the x-axis to be a minus 50%. Okay, now it looks something like this. Cool. So now this is the 100 pixels that we added, and now a couple of things to start working like on the animations is that this is how it looks right now when the page is gonna be active, but we want all of the pages to be disabled at first. So basically the way that we are gonna be doing that is with the transform with CSS. So in this case, for the background image, we want the background to start like here on the right, and we're gonna just move the background image, like the wrapper. That's the reason why we add the overflow hiding, so it hides with the wrapper. And for the model image, the image is moving in the whole screen, so we want the image to be completely out of the screen. So this is going to be like the first state of all of the pages, and once we enable them, we want them to be in this position. So let's see how we can work on that. Okay, so now here in the code, remember the background image. Okay, we want the background image to start not exactly on the center. So for this, we're gonna add a transform, translate on the X to 100%, so it moves to the left. Okay, basically that's pretty much it. It will move to the left. And let's add a transition. Okay, hold 1 second. All easy in out. Okay, basically this will make the background to be on the right. Okay, and we're gonna have a class that gets added here on the background image, or not here, but basically here on the page. And what we're gonna do is we're going to read for that class, and we're gonna move to the carousel background image. So when this image is active, we're gonna or the page is active, we're gonna transform this on the x-axis to be 0, so it's in the position that it was before. Okay, now if we save this and in our preview we refresh, as you guys can see, it will move to the right. Okay, cool. So here this is making the image to be in the center. So basically just gonna copy this, and this one needs to be outside the screen. So for this one, we're gonna add the viewport width of the screen. That way it is completely out of the screen. And we're gonna add a similar transition to this one, but this one is gonna take a little bit longer. Okay, cool. Now, similar to this one, it has an active class, but when the active class is on the page, we want to move this to a -50%. Okay. If we save this, basically it is out of the screen. Okay, cool. So now let's start adding some text to the pages. Okay, so now here it images and here, so carousel content wrapper. So we're gonna have our content here, carousel content, and we're gonna add an h1 for the title, content title. Okay, so I'm just gonna copy and paste some information that I have here, and now we need the price. In this case, an h3 carousel content price. Okay, I have also the price here and the text or the description. Okay, cool. And now we are gonna add a button, or like the button for the carousel. It's just a simple button. and it says quick view. Okay, now we save this back in the browser. We refresh, we see the text here. Now we need this text to be here on the right of the screen. Okay, cool. Okay, now let's go to the CSS and add some styles. Okay, so I'm gonna start with the content wrapper. We need the content wrapper to be height of 100%, width of 50%. Remember, the other 50 is the image, and we need also the overflow hiding. So we have the same effect as we have with the background image wrapper, because we're gonna be moving, as you guys probably already know, only the content. Okay, now for the content, okay, so the width have some padding values here, so it looks good on the page, and transform and translate on the x-axis. In this case, I'm just gonna set to 0 so we can see how it looks if the page were active. Okay, I'm gonna add the transition just to have this ready. Cool. Now let's add some styles that I already have for the content itself. In this case, the title. Some 63 pixels. Okay, let's see with these styles how it looks here in the code on the browser. Okay, cool. Now remember that we have a wrapper for this entire text, so basically we're gonna move this text also out of all this out of the wrapper. So the overflow of the wrapper of the text, it hides this text, and when it's active, it's gonna move to the left. Okay, cool. Okay, so now that is gonna be done here on the carousel content. You can see is the one that have all this information. So this is gonna be 100%, so it is on the right. And for this, we're gonna also, when it is active, the carousel content is going to be on the form. I'm gonna translate the x to be 0. So basically the position that I just showed you guys before. Okay, so now we save it. Now here we refresh, so you guys can see it is out of the screen. Okay, cool. So let's work a little bit on this is pretty much all we need for the carousel, but we need to add some JavaScript to the code so it is dynamic. So we're not gonna add any new JavaScript file or anything like that. We're just gonna do that here. And yeah, so first thing is to read for carousel, that in this case, or we're gonna read for the ID of carousel. remember, this is the ID we set here. We also need to know the pages of the carousel, so we do that by reading the children of this carousel. Children, and we are going to always enable class name. We're gonna set the class name of the first child, in this case, of the carousel to be always active. So it's very simple. Save it, and if we refresh, okay, it's not working. So let me see. Okay, the reason is because I added a 9. Here is a 0. In the preview, refresh. Always is gonna, the first children, the first page is always going to have the active. Okay, cool. Now back in the code, here we're just gonna add some dynamic things. We're gonna read for some events, and in this case, to move between the pages, we're gonna use arrow keys. You can use the scroll wheel or read for touch on mobile devices, but just to show you guys how to make something really simple, we're gonna use the arrow keys. Okay, so we're gonna read on key down. We're gonna have a function called move. Okay, so we're gonna make that function. We always read for an event that comes from this on key down event. Okay, couple of things to declare here. The current page always at first is going to be 0. The max pages, we are just going to read for the carousel pages that length, in this case -1. Alright, and some const variables for the arrow keys. Okay, arrow right, and the left. Cool. Now the event always have a key event, and this is how we're gonna do to detect if it is right or left, and move or change the classes basically based on this. Okay, so now we're gonna detect if a key has been pressed. Okay, has pressed. Key, say key is equals to arrow right, or the key is equals to the arrow left. Okay, and if there is no press key, you're just going to return and do nothing. Okay, so now if we move forward on the pages, basically that means the key that has been pressed is the right key. Okay, I hope all of this makes sense for you guys. I'm just trying to read everything like in English, so it makes sense for you. Okay, perfect. Now a couple of things to do. Okay, now we need to say if we are moving forward, but also the current page is not the last page or greater than the last page, in this case the max pages, we want always to go to the next page. Okay, That makes sense for you. And basically we can use an else, but if there is no forward and this one needs to go like this, okay. And here we say if the current page is not 0 or less than 0. So basically we go move to the left. Okay, cool. Now that we have the page that we need, in this case I'm gonna use the same like setting the class here, but in this case for the current page we want to be active. Okay, now let's see. Okay, forgot the if. Now if we refresh, okay, it's not gonna do anything right now if we press the R, the left or the right key, because we don't have more pages. So to fix that, here in our code, see, let's just duplicate this one. This is another page. Let's just change the images. We have 3 of these, so basically I just change the number there. And our preview, refresh, and we move to the right, we see this, and to the left it's not going to do anything because we haven't had any class of this to assign the transition on the CSS. So to fix that in the code, okay, now in the code, a couple of things that is really simple. We're gonna have a class to move to the left. Display in this case for the content, basically to the left. Okay, we want to translate this to 100%, and we're gonna be doing something similar with the background image. Basically we're moving to the left. This one is right, center, to the left. And for our carousel image, this case, we want to move this on the left of the screen. Okay, so now here in the JavaScript code, we need to assign those classes. So when we move to the forward, we want always to move the current page, remember, so the one that it was before this one, move to the left. Okay, and if we move backwards, we want the current page only to be current page, and the CSS transitions are going to take care of doing the correct animation. So now if we refresh, okay, this is the first one. If we move to the right, we move to the next one. If we move to the left, we're back to the first one. So basically it is working, but there is a thing, as you can see, like the model, it is going behind the text. So fixing that is really simple. Okay, so now here in the carousel image, I was gonna add a C index of 100. Now here we refresh. Now the image, it is gonna be always on top of the text. And let's test this with an extra page. So let's just add an extra page. I'm doing this on the, okay, like this here. the browser, we refresh and we move. Okay, cool. Okay, and there is a thing also here with the text that we need to do. As you guys can see, for example, sometimes when you try to select, it won't let you, and the reason is because all the pages are up top of each other. So we just need to move the C index in this case to fix that. In this case, as you can see, the last one is always like the one that is going to be on top. So to fix that, here in the index CSS for the carousel page, we're going to say active. Here without the space, we add carousel page. Okay, and we set the index to be 20. And I don't know why I added 100% here, but it is 10. Okay, so now back in the preview, we refresh, and basically you can select now this text. Now we move to the next one. You can select this one over here and this one over here. Okay, cool. So yeah, this is pretty much all you guys need to do to make something like this. Okay, thank you so much for watching this video. If you like it, please subscribe, like the video, that will really support me a lot. Any suggestions or questions that you guys have, you can use the comments below. Okay, see you guys on the next one.